Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, Stone Point Credit Income Fund, SPCIFF, just filed an 8K reporting unregistered equity sales, and there is a key detail about their capital structure that I want to break down. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. They've sold over 1 million new shares from a capital drawdown, and we need to see what this means for existing investors and the fund's overall health. Alright, so what we have here is a Form 8K, which is essentially a report for significant company events for Stone Point Credit Income Fund. The big news is about an unregistered sale of equity securities. Think of it like the fund selling new pieces of itself to investors without having to go through the big public registration process like a normal stock IPO. The filing tells us that on the 1st of June, the fund issued and sold over 1 million shares. Now, these aren't just any shares, they're referred to as the fund's common shares, and they were sold at the fund's net asset value, or NAV. On that day, the total price for these shares was a cool $25 million. This means the fund went to specific investors who had already agreed to put money into the fund, told them, hey, we need cash, and these investors responded by buying those shares at the calculated value per share. This is a common way for funds to raise capital without public market volatility. The par value is basically a tiny nominal value assigned to each share, just $0.001 here. But the real price is determined by the fund's net asset value. Then there is a follow-up detail about a portion of these sales. On the 1st of June, what looks like a finalized number of 495,413 shares were sold for over $12 million. It seems like the total sale of the 1.013 million shares was confirmed by the 17th of June, with these specific shares being the initial part of that draw. Now, this is where it gets interesting for understanding the fund's capacity. Since the fund started, it has secured total commitments from investors amounting to over $1.16 billion. That is a huge number. However, a significant portion of that, about $776 million, still needs to be called or drawn down from these investors. This means the fund has a lot of potential firepower left to raise more capital if needed. This sale is just a small part of unlocking that potential. The filing also explains why this sale didn't need the usual public filing. It is because these sales fall under exemptions in securities law, specifically Section 4, Art 2 and Rule 506 of Regulation D. Basically, these are private placements not offered to the general public. They rely on the investors being sophisticated enough to understand the risks, and the fund not engaging in widespread advertising. To qualify for these exemptions, the fund needs to ensure the buyers are accredited investors. That means investors who meet certain income or net worth thresholds, demonstrating they can handle the risks of such investments. The fund took these investors' word for it in the paperwork, the subscription agreements. And finally, the report is signed off by Stephen P. Henke, who is the Chief Financial Officer. This is standard procedure to confirm the filing's accuracy. Looking at this filing, the main takeaway is that Stone Point Credit Income Fund is actively drawing down capital from its investors. They have a substantial amount of committed capital still available, which signals that they are likely in a growth or deployment phase, looking to fund new investments using this capital. For existing investors, this means their stake is being diluted by the new shares issued, but it also means the fund is getting the cash it needs to operate and potentially grow its portfolio. The fact that this is a private placement means it is not directly impacting the publicly traded market, but it is a key operational event for the fund itself and its shareholders. The big question for investors would be how effectively this new capital will be deployed to generate returns that outweigh the dilution. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded, like, subscribe, and join our Discord for more.